ABC News contributor and retired General Robert Abrams joins us now. General Abrams was an advisor to former U.S. Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel during the last invasion of Ukraine, and more recently was the head of U.S. forces in Korea. General, thanks so much for joining us again. We heard from Ian and Cecilia there that the Polish government announced today it was ready to immediately hand over all of its MiG-29 fighter jets to the United States and deploy them to an air base in Germany. But then late today, the Pentagon weighed in and pushed back, saying that it's up to the Polish government to give these planes to Ukraine, saying they didn't think that Poland's proposal is, quote, a tenable one. First, if you can just explain to our viewers why Poland didn't just say, here, Ukraine, here are our fighter jets.
Well, Linsey, good evening. I think this would be purely speculation on my part because I agree. I think the announcement by the Poles it's inexplicable, actually, for a number of reasons, and it hugely complicates an intended transfer. But perhaps, and the Poles have been great partners, but perhaps, by passing them, to the United States in Germany gives the Poles a veiled sense of plausible deniability that it was not a direct transfer to the Ukrainians for fear of Russian retaliation. I don't know. It's pure speculation because it's really unbelievable to think that they would move those aircraft from about 400 miles from Ukraine to 1,200 miles from Ukraine. It's almost crazy.
Do you think that this could be read by Russia as a potential win and a crack in the NATO alliance?
No, I don't think so. I think that this is a serious matter, but we have to put things in context. NATO has come to the sounds of the guns in support of Ukraine. We have provided, NATO and the EU nations and other countries have provided literally thousands of anti-tank weapons and air defense artillery systems, and this is just one more military item to pass on to the Ukrainians. But there is a perception that this ups the ante. I personally don't think so.
What do you think is going to happen with those planes now?
Well, I think that the phone lines between the Department of State and the Poles are ringing off the hook right now, and they're trying to sort of sort this thing out. But I think there is a way, by the way, if the planes were sent to Ramstein Air Base and then moved. I think the Ukrainian military is capable of exfiltrating some Ukrainian pilots. They could be flown by NATO aircraft to Ramstein, check out the aircraft and so forth, and then they could be flown back. Although it's at the edge of their legs, I think. They'd probably need extended leg tanks, fuel tanks, external fuel tanks to be able to make it back. But I think that's all doable. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It would probably take a week or so to turn this around. But it would help out the Ukrainian Air Force.
Hopefully they're listening to you. You might have just solved it for them. But let's take a step back here. How, if those planes are eventually given to Ukraine, could this shift the war in a significant way? I think that we have just lost General Abrams. Oh, you're back.
I'm back.
Okay, so how would this potentially shift it if the Ukrainians are able to ultimately get these planes? How could this really change the dynamics of the war?
Well, Linsey, I don't think it's going to change the dynamic immediately. What it will give, it'll give Ukraine some additional aircraft. They started the war somewhere in the 30 to 35 number of these aircraft, these MiG-29s. This would potentially double their available aircraft. And it gives this is what Ian was referring to earlier. It would help the Ukrainian military be able to sustain this conflict for a much longer period. So it's not a game changer immediately, but it will certainly give them some staying power in the long term.
All right, General Abrams, always appreciate your insight. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.